This is an individual assessment report for the student Kaysen. Kaysen is a 7-year-old who is in first grade. So we're going to begin by looking at some data that is pulled from grades and things that the class has done. So the first thing is his Ames-Webb fluency score. So when we talk about fluency is the rate, so the speed and kind of the smoothness at which a student is reading. And it's measured in words per minute. Kaysen scored, this was in December, Kaysen scored 36 words per minute. We would like for students to be at 40 words per minute at the midpoint of the year. And the end goal for first grade is to be at 68 words per minute. So Kaysen is definitely progressing along that goal. He could be a little bit higher, and fluency is something that I want to work on with him, but this is not a bad score. The next thing is his Success Maker score. So the Success Maker program is a computer program that we work on 2 to 3 times a week in the computer lab. The score shown is a grade level equivalent. So he scored a 1.33, which is a little bit low. We don't spend a ton of time at the computer lab, so I'm not concerned about this score. It's just something to show another level of where he's at. This score is acceptable. It could be higher, but it really is not something that we spend a lot of time on, so I'm not worried about it. The next is his STAR reading assessment. So this, we have students take it once every 9 weeks, and they take it at the very end of the 9 weeks. This score was from December. So in December, he scored a 1.4. This is also a grade level equivalent. But recently, actually a week ago, he scored a 2.3, I believe, on his STAR reading assessment. So I don't know if this December score was a fluke, but he has definitely grown. He started the year not reading a lot, and so this just tests their word recognition and comprehension and things like that, and just kind of shows where they're at grade level wise. So this score is okay, but knowing what he just got recently at the end of the third 9 weeks, a 2.3, that's second grade, third month, he is definitely doing well with that. The next one is a spelling test average, which is a 68%. Our class spelling test average is around an 80-85%. So you can tell that spelling words is something that Kaysen can work on. He definitely needs to spend time on them at home because we don't devote a lot of time to them in the classroom. And then additionally, his spelling sentence average is a 60%. So the spelling sentence is tricky. It's given after the spelling words, and it uses the spelling pattern, and we check students for correct capitalization and punctuation and things like that. So they really have to be thinking on their feet. The class spelling sentence average is an 80%. So, you know, he's doing okay, but if he spent more time working on his spelling words at home and practicing writing some sentences, that would definitely bring those scores up. So the next piece of data is from an IRI. This is an assessment that I gave with Kaysen. It took us about 30 to 45 minutes one morning, and it started out with him reading word lists, and then he read some word passages or some stories based on those lists. So the first thing we're going to look at is how he did on the stories. That's the oral reading of passages. So he read them out loud to me. So it shows the passage level was primer, which is kindergarten. His word recognition percentage was 95%, which is very good. That's very high. He was reading the words. He was doing a great job. So that means he's at independent reading level for that passage. And then his comprehension percentage was an 83%. It's pretty good. It could have been better, but I asked him some questions that came with the passage afterwards, and so that's how he did on those. So his comprehension level is at instructional, which means his comprehension level is a little bit lower than his recognition of the words. But moving on, we did a passage at first grade level. So at first grade level, his word recognition percentage was 91%. That is still a great percentage. But that is at instructional. So that means that the passages that I will be selecting for Kason to work with him on will be at that level. They'll be at the first grade level, which is what we expect of a first grader. His comprehension percentage was actually pretty low. So we got a 67% on the comprehension questions, which is at a frustration level. So again, comprehension is something that Kason and I will be working towards. I think we'll be looking at some comprehension strategies, and I'll be teaching him some ways that he can just check his reading and make sure that he's understanding what he's reading. And then finally, we read a story at a second grade level. So this story, his word recognition percentage dropped. He scored a 74%, which is at a frustration level. And in fact, it was pretty choppy and slow. And so I just went ahead and had him stop before the end of it. So there was not a comprehension percentage because we just didn't get there. So that means going back to the first grade level, that means that we will be focusing on reading passages and practicing comprehension at a first grade level. So yeah. And then the next thing in the IRI was the word recognition lists. So these were word lists that were given that encompass some sight words and some just basic words for each grade level. So the first one he read was pre-primer. So this is pre-K words, or just before kindergarten. And he scored 17 out of 20, which was an 85%, which is instructional. I think he could have done a lot better on this one because, in fact, the next one for primer, he scored the same thing. So that shows me that this one at pre-primer was just a little bit of a fluke. So his instructional level with the sight words and the word lists is at primer. And then you'll see for first grade, his score was 13 out of 20 words, which was a 65%. So while Kason and I are practicing some sight words, we will be focusing on the kindergarten level. So we'll drop back a little bit and work on some of those words that he learned last year. So to finish it, the main things that are important to know that we will work on going forward is that Kason and I will be working on fluency. So we'll be rereading texts and just trying to get our speed up and also our accuracy of the words. Additionally, we'll be working on comprehension. So we'll be talking about some comprehension strategies that he can use to help him make sure he's understanding what he's reading. And then finally, we'll be working on sight words. So his sight words and his word recognition from the IRI is the lowest thing. And so I want to help him get his sight word recognition up and just make sure that he can get those words, because the better he knows those sight words, the higher his fluency will be. All right. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks.